The following clips are from a CE5 session that was held on June 30th, 2019 from about 7:30 p.m. until 11:30 p.m. at what we call the Mountain Ridge Overlook off of Hawksview Road in Buckingham, Virginia. This video features two separate clips of the same event from different perspectives. One clip is from a stationary game cam that was mounted on the Jeep, and the other is from the handheld IR cam that I had mounted on a tripod that I began to operate to record this when it was noticed by one of the parties in our group. So here's our first clip, and this is from the game cam that's mounted on the bracket on the Jeep. Okay, so I've got this paused so that I can show you what we were looking at, and what you want to watch is this little dot of light right here. And watch this guy over here. This is Bowden, and he actually sees this and points it out. And then when he sees it, I come out from over here and start the handheld IR that's mounted on this tripod. And so the next clip is actually going to show you what I saw through this camera. So here we go. And if you notice, it's moving real slow, almost imperceptible, and Bowden sees it at this point and he's pointing it out. And all these lights down in here, these are normal things. These are towers and headlights and things like that. So that's me, and I'm firing up the handheld and trying to get this thing in frame. And so that it's only a 30-second clip. The next clip continues to show this thing moving real slow on this trajectory, and eventually it goes off screen. So I'm not even going to put that one up because there's nothing exciting about it, and we're going to move on to our next clip. So here's our second clip, and this is the one that came from the tripod mounted IR cam that I was using, and this is going to show you what I saw for the duration of this event. Okay, so this is what was recorded on the handheld. A couple real quick things to note. I've got this paused at the moment, of course. Initially, this object was moving extremely slow, and so it took a while for it to get out of frame. As it would move to where it was clearing the current view of the frame, I would move the camera, and the camera was mounted on a tripod, and so you're going to see some jerkiness at different points throughout the video. That's not, it makes it look like the object is like taking off. It's not. That's me moving the camera on the tripod head. So it does take off, but that's not until the end. So I'm going to let this play right now, and we'll talk about it a little bit as we go through. And as you can see, it's kind of an odd shape. It's emitting multiple colors, and it is flashing intermittently. That's me moving the camera around trying to get it back in frame. So this thing is moving straight up. It eventually begins to take a trajectory that's a little off to the right. There it goes. And its flashing begins to increase along with its speed. So I'm getting ready to move the camera again. Here we go, trying to get it back in frame. It continues to move. There's that flashing starting to intensify. There's a point in just a little ways further into the film in which not only is it flashing, and there's me moving again, but not only is it flashing, but it begins to exhibit, if you look very closely, a ring around the entire object, like a light ring. So of course that was me moving. And if you see the pulses, the flashing pulses are beginning to intensify, they're coming quicker. And there's also something starting to come off the back of the object right there. So if you watch that area, you'll see what I'm talking about. It begins to like spit out light or energy. In addition to spitting out the little light or energy thing, you're also going to see here in just a second that it spits out something else, or at least it seems to. And I'll try to pause it Okay, I just paused it because it just occurred. So let me back that up just a smidge. See that right there? I think those were emitted, excuse me, from this object. And this one's particularly interesting because it's got kind of a corkscrew shape. The other thing I found interesting was that this pretty much mimics the pattern that we saw in the video clip from November 2018 on the same mountain, not at the exact same location, but at the same mountain. So I'm going to let this continue to roll, and doesn't have that much further to go. It's really picking up speed here. I'm having trouble keeping it in frame at this point, and the light flashes are intensifying, as is that blurb of light out the back. And so you can see I'm really having trouble keeping it. These other objects are stars. And now if you notice, it is splitting. I just paused it. It is splitting into two. And we witnessed the split. Well, I didn't because I had the camera, but the other people that were present were witnessing the split with the naked eye. You could see it. And it continues to emit these odd little, it's spitting out these little pieces of light or energy. I'm not sure what they are. At the point at which this thing fully split, it took off. One half went in one direction, the other half went in the other direction, and I lost it on camera. So I'm going to let it continue to run forward until that occurs, and it's just a second here. You'll see it take off, and it's gone. So I'm paused it again. Obviously it was out of frame. It split in half at that point, and the two halves went in opposite directions. And I was not able to get either of the halves on camera. They were moving too fast, and I just wasn't not handy enough with the camera to be able to capture them. However, if you watch very closely, I did capture something else that I didn't even know was there. This. And I'm not sure what that is. I'm assuming it's probably one of the lighted objects that were expelled from the back of the object that I was following. So I backed it up a little bit there. I'm gonna pull it forward a little. And at first when I looked at this, I thought, you know, maybe it was me moving the camera upwards that made a stationary object look as though it were falling straight downwards. However, if you watch in this area down here, there's a star down here that remains stationary while this continues to fall. So that kind of took care of that theory. So I'm gonna let it play one more time. See, there's that object right there. And then at that point I was still moving the camera around dramatically, trying to recapture the one that had split. So I'm gonna back that up one more time because this thing is just really exciting to me. This thing that falls directly out of the sky. So there it is, frame by frame. It's definitely round. It's definitely lighted in both red and yellow at that point. Then it changes. It goes away. Then it comes back. And it continues to fall. And then it comes forward again. This time the color has changed. It's not as red and yellow. It's not as intense. And now it's green. Now it's blue. And it keeps going until it falls completely out of sight. There it is again. It flashes up again in the yellow and the red, and then it's gone. And if you notice, there's that little star right there that I was able to capture that verifies that I am not moving the camera, at least not to the extent that it's making this thing look like it's fallen out of the sky. So yeah, that's what we got, and I am really excited about this footage because I think this is some of the best that we've ever gotten as far as capturing something that is indisputable, that it's not something that we made. It's not an airplane. There's no way. This is not an airplane. We track airplanes all the time. We know exactly what they look like and what they do and how they perform, what they look like, what they sound like, what the lights look like, that sort of thing. This is no airplane. This is something entirely different, and ultimately this is why we're out there. This is what we're trying to capture. And so we were really excited about this one. I hope you find this one as fascinating as I did. If you've got comments, please leave them. If you've got questions, shoot us an email at info@ownthelight.org, and we'll see you next time around. I chose these clips from the dozen or so that we gathered during this particular session because they represented typical events which normally occur during our CE5 sessions. All of these clips basically show the same thing, the energetic signature or form of intelligent beings who were generous enough to make the effort to manifest and attempt to communicate simply because we requested it. If you're not familiar with what a CE5 session is, the abbreviation stands for Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. This is the only type of extraterrestrial contact which is deliberately initiated by human beings for the purpose of building relationships with non-terrestrial beings for the purpose of communication, the acquisition of knowledge, and the betterment of our planet and our society. The ultimate goal of these efforts is the eradication of the current status quo of hatred, fear, and separation which has been in place for far too long. Our current state of existence is not sustainable. We are destroying our planet and ourselves. There is a better way. We can learn from those who have been where we are and managed to evolve past it, if we're only willing to make the effort to do so. We are some of the ones who are willing to do so without question. You can do this too. Anyone can. All it takes is willingness to push back against the status quo with fearlessness and to not be afraid of the unknown. We Own the Light is dedicated to the enrichment and evolution of humanity's spirituality, and we're in direct opposition to the fear-mongering and secrecy that fosters society's current state of hatred and separation. We work toward this through showing others the energetic connectivity between all things, including those which have been traditionally feared or thought of as being dangerous, especially extraterrestrial beings. I once heard Dr. Stephen Greer say, "They might own the night, but we own the light." And for those of us willing to do whatever it takes to be a cog in the wheel that crushes the current societal and political state to smithereens, no truer statement has ever been uttered. This channel, our website, and all of our efforts, past, present, and future, are dedicated to this cause, and we are indebted to Dr. Greer for his tireless pursuit of the same. As St. Francis of Assisi was quoted to say, "All of the darkness in the world cannot extinguish the light from a single candle." And he was so right. We have no fear of the darkness because we own the light. Do you have the courage to own your light? We think you do.